Well, thank you for joining us for this special bulletin. And we've got Todd Bentley here with us. And we weren't, as we've been sharing in these, talking about Todd, the restoration that he's going through. But, we've got a lot more to talk about. And I really appreciate the feedback we've been getting, the letters and all. It's just been tremendous and so encouraging. And we've gotten a lot of questions and a lot of negative too, but we expect that. And some of that we really think there are some good points we really need to take and do appreciate it. But also, I just wanted to mention that, Todd does now have an office here. He is not in ministry now. A lot of people have just assumed because we started doing these videos, Todd was back in ministry and he's being restored right now. No, we're going through the process, but he does have an office and you can write to him directly. You can contact him. We've got the information on this video, and we really do appreciate your input. It's very helpful. But one of the things we wanted to talk about today was, concerning the Revival Alliance and how the situation, I know that's a part of the controversy. How did this group come together to ordain Todd in the Lakeland Revival, and then all of a sudden the Lakeland Revival seems to melt down, and a lot of people have been blaming these guys in the Revival Alliance. Yeah. But I tell you one thing, there's, I think, a big misunderstanding on what that was about. There's a big misunderstanding on, their purpose also, and what they were seeking to accomplish, as well as everything. But we, for the first thing, I like to say, I really appreciated those guys sticking their necks out because they felt this thing was of God, and they weren't. And that doesn't mean they agree with everything going on. None of us do. Todd doesn't do that. I mean, he looks back and says, "Hey, we shouldn't have done that." And but they were willing to in some cases, knowing they were going to lose friends, supporters, everything else, to come down and say they wanted to help in this Lakeland Revival. They wanted to help give it any kind of support that they could. And I tell you, knowing what some of them were risking and even the threats some of these guys had gotten, if they would do that, I was just so appreciative of the courage that they had simply to stand with something they believed was of God. And I tell you, I will forever, really honor and appreciate them for that. But there's a lot of misunderstanding about what it was and what it was for. Can share your understand what the Revival Alliance or what you were aligning with them for?
Lakeland was so huge and it happened so quickly. I think it took all of us. Nobody had planned for what took place in Lakeland. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of good, bad, ugly, and wisdom that we can have today to help us for tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And one thing I'll say is Lakeland was a genuine move of God. Mm-hmm. And God surprised me. He opened the windows of heaven and he poured it out. And people rallied around that, and it was their love for God, not Todd, but God. That so many leaders and people watched on TV, came from around the world, and it was a genuine move of God. My personal problems and my issues had nothing to do with, that's separate from what God was doing.
God's faithful even when we're unfaithful.
Exactly.
Even
and I want to tell the world that Lakeland was a genuine move of God, and don't let the mistakes that I've made, let's not discredit what God did. What God did stands. And that's why they aligned. That's why the leaders came to commission and stand with us on the platform. It was their love for the kingdom, their love for community, and their love for unity. And I know that's why you and Peter Wagner and John Arnott and Cheon and so many others, Wesley and Stacy and so many stood with us because they were standing with what God was doing, which was a kingdom work. And it stands. And I am so appreciative today that they stood with us on the platform. And the biggest question that people ask me is Todd, what was going on with your marriage at that moment? And why would you have them stand with you and commission you and do this whole big celebration if just weeks later, we hear of there's going to be a divorce and you're married. And what people don't understand is there were things going on between Sean and I for years, not Lakeland. There's no blame on Lakeland. And unfortunately, Shauna and I were hoping and working at that things were going to work. Even when that ordination took place.
You were both hoping, hey, we're going to work this out.
And we had no plans at that moment when the guys came. There were no plans, that things weren't going to go well. And so I just thank God that they took that stand. And I appreciate, and I feel like the biggest thing in addressing some of this today is I owe an apology. And I know I've communicated to Bill Johnson and several others an apology that, they took a lot of responsibility, in putting their necks on the line, and they've taken a lot of the heat and a lot of the blame for my poor decisions. And, I am truly, wanting to say to the world and to the Revival Alliance particularly that I'm sorry that the mistakes that I've made and my personal issues in my marriage and the poor choices that were made soon after Lakeland and the hurt that it's caused you. I truly am asking for your forgiveness. And I know that I saw the whole ordaining and the coming together that night on the platform. I saw it as, let's all celebrate the kingdom. Let's give credibility to what God's doing. And not so much, let's fully approve of Todd, but look what God's doing. And the guys just wanted to simply step in and give a buffer for all the attacks and all the criticism that was coming against Lakeland. And they were saying, this is a move of God. We need to stand with what God's doing. Let's help Todd and his team, push through some of the attacks that are coming, and not just from people, but from the devil, the powers of darkness that were working. And I saw it as a simple, not that they were responsible, not that I was coming under any particular government or organization as if, there was some political structure now. I saw it simply as a bunch of guys that love revival were all getting together to say, yay, God, and let's push this thing through. And unfortunately, things didn't end. The move of God continues, but in some of my things that I've been through now in the last 9 months, it's hurt some of the guys that stood for what God was doing, and
they should not be blamed for that.
And we don't give any blame.
Yeah,
and
I know the way it was explained to me. Now, I was not a part of the Revival Alliance, but all these are my friends.
Yeah,
I'm a part of the kingdom, and when they called me and asked me if I could just come down and stand with them, I said, sure, I'd be happy to. We've been so blessed by what's happening in Lakeland and all of these guys too. We've been blessed by what happened in Toronto. We've been blessed by what's happening in, Bill Johnson's movement, and Cheyon's been a great friend, and of course Peter Wagner's been a friend for years. And I would just want to come stand with my friends. I'm not a part of the Revival Alliance, but it was explained to me that Peter spent hours with Jack Deere and I before the thing, just trying to explain things. It was not Todd coming under and submitting to the Revival Alliance. That was never implied.
No.
Nor was it them taking responsibility for Lakeland. It was just them coming alongside to help defray a lot of the stuff that was coming at them, but also to help, if needed, to help align some things and bring correction when correction was needed, and also as equals and as co-laborers. It was never Todd coming under them or them taking responsibility for Lakeland. So don't blame those guys. They were, in my opinion, heroes in this whole thing, and have continued. And I just appreciate why, when it fell apart, they didn't run and hide.
No.
They got engaged. They said, okay, what have we got to do? We got to
They're still cheering us on.
Yeah.
In the restoration.
Still helping. I still hear from them all the time and everything. And I so appreciate these guys have proven true leadership. And through the mess, that's when everything's going great, like the night of the ordination, that's one thing. But when you see people being faithful right through the hard times, it was a remarkable leadership. So we just wanted to take this time to address this one thing with Revival Alliance. These are heroes. They really are. They deserve a lot of credit. appreciation, and I appreciate Todd's apology to them too, and to others who've taken unnecessary heat for what's gone on. But listen, thank you guys so much for your understanding. We're just trying to process these things and bring things out that we think will be helpful at this time, and also things we're going through to try to deal with. So thank you again so much.